Today, PCN is here at the Amish farm and house, and although they started doing tours of the property back in 1955, the history of the Amish community that lives here in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania goes back further than that. So today we're going to talk about it. Let's head inside. I'm joined today by Devon Fite. She's a tour guide here at the Amish farm and house. Could you tell us what's the history of this property?
So originally, this was a land grant from William Penn to the Evans family, handed down through the years ultimately to an Amish family. That was in 1955, we purchased it and took it over as the first Amish tourist attraction. And since then, we've maintained its authenticity, and we've maintained trying to give a good view and glimpse into Amish lifestyle. And that's exactly what we're going to do today, to show you guys.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot of rich history here. Let's take a look at some of the rooms in this house.
All right, sounds good.
So a big part of the Amish community is their religion. Could you tell us, how do they practice that? What is their religion?
So actually, the Amish originated over in Europe. They're kind of from the Protestant Reformation. They were persecuted over there. And so they came over here by invitation of William Penn about the mid-1700s. So they didn't have any actual church buildings to meet in when they were in Europe. And when they came here, they continued that tradition of not having an actual church building. So what you're seeing here in this house is actually what an Amish church building would look like, because it's an Amish home set up for church on a Sunday morning. So they're actually a Christian religion from that Protestant Reformation. So they would have a regular Christian church service every other Sunday, actually. So they would rest every Sunday, but church would be held every other Sunday in someone's home. You can see here that the benches are set up for men to sit on one side and women to sit on the other side. They would start off a 3-hour service in the morning, followed by a cold meal at noon. And church service basically is a time of prayer. They would have a time of singing. They would start off the morning with a hymn, and they would do that for about 3 hours.
One of the common misconceptions about the Amish community is that they don't use any electricity. How much does technology play a role in their community?
Yeah, great question. One that we get a lot here is, the Amish don't use electricity. And I always like to tell everyone, the Amish don't use electricity like we do. It's not that they're against electricity in and of itself. It's more the concept of being connected to the world and just doing whatever the world does. So their mantra is, we'd like to be in the world, but not be of the world. And so you will see just about every other form of electricity other than electricity off the grid. So you'll see solar panels, windmills, all different types of batteries, gas, propane, diesel, kerosene, just about everything. They just don't connect to the grid like we do. So for example, if you're looking here, you can see this is just a regular sewing machine, but instead of plugging into the wall with electricity, they would use an inverter and a battery. Just like over here, we can see that this would be a sewing machine, but it's actually a treadle sewing machine. So you can see the treadle underneath, and they would still use this even today. So there's a lot of different technologies that they would use, even variations in their own community. If you look over here, we can see that this is a wood-burning stove. Now, this would be more used in the wintertime to double as a heat source as well as a cooktop, but they can use propane stoves just like we would. And then as you move around here, you can see this is a propane-powered refrigerator. This is usually pretty surprising to see in an Amish kitchen after I tell everyone they don't use electricity. But again, it's that they don't use it like we do. So here we've got this propane-powered refrigerator that they can use. There's still some points of contention as far as how much electricity, how much technology should we be able to use. So you can see here that we have, for example, this is called a black box phone, and the Amish have never used telephones in their homes. The idea is they want to keep the world at bay, keep that technology at bay. It should be used for business use only, not for in the home. And so telephones are always kept outside. And then we had cell phones come on the scene. How do we use those? And so these are called black box phones. These are essentially just a way to be able to not have an actual cell phone, but it does the same trick. However, you are starting to see a lot of the Amish with cell phones nowadays. But again, they try to keep it for business purposes only, and it's usually just a flip phone.
We're in the second floor of the real family's home now. What would a typical Amish bedroom look like?
So for sure, we've got here the Amish quintessential quilt. The Amish women are known for making quilts, and so that's displayed here. We also have a lot of Amish clothing here that you can see. This is where history meets modernity, because in the past, the Amish would have not done any makeup. They still to this day do not do any makeup, no jewelry whatsoever. At one point in history, buttons were considered like jewelry, and so they didn't allow for those back then, and they still don't allow for those even today. It's become a tradition. So you can see here very, very simple dresses. You can see that they would have pins, straight pins, instead of buttons to keep their dresses on. So a style like this, very solid colors, very simple apron, and very simple clothing.
How does the Amish community make money? What kind of work do they do? What trades?
Well, in the past, a lot of them were farmers, and here we are in our 1803 bank barn, of the original barn that was built onto this property. And still today, a lot of Amish are farmers. Corn, alfalfa, and tobacco are their three main crops that they grow. And so many of them do still grow tobacco, corn, and alfalfa. However, since the 1940s and 50s, when 90% were farmers, we now have about less than 25% of Amish that are farmers. So they're doing such things as woodworking, metalworking, a lot of blacksmiths, a lot of cabinet making, auctioneers, a lot of them in small engine repair, a lot of them do diesel repair. So all of these Amish are not just farming anymore. They're doing all different types of occupations. Also on our farm, included in our barns, are all of our animals. So we have everything from peacocks to chickens to horses, pigs. We've got goats, baby goats as well to do the goat yoga. We've got all different types of, we've got steers and cows. So lots of things to see here at Amish Farm and House.
During my time in college, I saw a bunch of horse and buggies along the side of the road. Is that the Amish's only way of transportation?
Yeah, so it might be the most familiar way that the Amish travel, but they can also actually travel by car if they have someone outside of the Amish community driving them, almost like their own Uber system. But they would use their horse and buggies to go from place to place, which they actually have horse and buggy shops. A lot of them would be into making them. They can also use buses and trains and private drivers and vans. They would not use bicycles, however. Bicycles go a little too far, a little too fast. They would do scooters instead. So you'll see an Amish person on a scooter, no pedal, no seat, but it looks a lot like a bicycle.
So Devon, we were talking off camera earlier and I asked you, what is something on the Amish Farm and House property that your visitors love to see? And you said it was this covered bridge. Could you tell us why? So many people love covered bridges. There's just something very nostalgic and old-fashioned about a covered bridge. And so we have a lot of guests that come here looking to see this bridge. This is called the Willows. It's actually a bridge that was not original to the farm. It was brought here piece by piece and reconstructed. And so you can see every piece is original to this bridge. Some very old wood in here, but very much coveted by everyone that comes to see it. Devon, before we close out, could you tell us, how does the Amish Farm and House preserve the Amish community's history here in Lancaster County?
Well, the great thing is the Amish actually do that themselves. They are a link from the past to the present. And so all we need to do is represent them authentically. And that's exactly what we try to do here, is show you authentic Amish history, authentic Amish life nowadays.
Well, thank you so much for talking to us about the history of the Amish community here in Lancaster County. I really appreciate your time today.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome. And thank you guys very much for watching this tour on PCN.